Hey everyone, it's Lisa and it's time to stitch block number 6 of our Joyful Gatherings Quilt-Along. So for this one, we are going to need triangle paper, 1 1/8. We need a 4.5 inch square, and I have mine all set up here of light and dark and right sides together. No more making any boo-boos. And then I have my flying geese all set. I need 8 and 4 of the large triangle, 8 of the small triangle. Make sure you go to the Quilt-Along page at lisabongean.com, go to Quilt-Alongs, and go print out block number 6. All right, so now I have quick changed my foot here. I'm gonna lower my stitch length so this paper perfs right off when it's time for that to come off. I'm gonna give it a quick little press here. It's got a little wrinkle on that one, not that it really needs it, but nice and flat now. All right, so on my paper here, I'm going to stitch on all of the dash lines all the way around and then in the inside. Okay, so I'm just going to put that in there. And if you can't tell, I have a knee lift that I use instead of, I don't really like doing this all the time. So use your knee lift and you don't ever have to touch your take-up lever at all. So that saves time when I'm going like this all the time. All right, so use those knee lifts if they come with your machine. I don't want it to unthread on me. All right, so I'm going to stitch all the way around and try not to talk at the same time. All right, so that's how quickly you can make 8 half square triangles. So now I am going to cut them apart with my small 3x7 ruler here. I'm going to stand just because it's hard to sit and cut. Now I want to cut exactly on that really skinny thin black line. And I usually trim all the way around the outsides first. I do have one of those rotating mats just right here, but you know, sometimes it takes longer to get it out than it does to use it, so. All right, so once I have all the edges, then I do the crosshairs or the up and down. Could do one like that. And you want to make sure you get them right on the lines. Now in between. The middle one is not so detrimental than the outside ones. If the outside ones are off, your triangles are not going to be the right size. The middle one here that I'm cutting, it doesn't matter if I cut that one off a little bit. This is, your stitch line is what really matters there. So I'm going to pick them all up and I'm going to flip them fabric side up, which is the dark. So when you layer those, the paper always goes on the light. All right, now I'm just going to chain press these. All right, just like that. I'm going to turn them over now and I'm going to peel the paper. So I'm going to hold it right by the stitch line, take my finger, go in there and peel those right off. And if you pick them all up at one time like I just did, this saves you a lot of up and down movements, picking them up one at a time. But if your husband's doing it like mine does during the game, we don't really care how long it takes, right? As long as he just delivers them all done. Because they seem to have a little bit more time than we do. Or at least mine does. And he loves doing it. He's like, you got any triangles for me today? And I'm like, no, not right now. All right, so just like that, we have them all done. They are the perfect size. They should be 1 5/8 right now. When you lay that on there, 1 5/8, 1 5/8. Now we're going to trim off the quilt seeds. Sometimes I'm pretty lazy and I leave them on, and then if you have a quilt with like a light background, sometimes they poke through that light background. So I'm not used to quilting with a lot of light fabrics. I used to always quilt with like tan and really dark saturated colors. But now that I'm stitching with these lighter backgrounds, sometimes I have to be careful of leaving my little dog ears on. All right, one last one. Okay, so clean this up. I always use my ruler to, just like cooking shows, right? I just do that. I should have saved those. You never know, I could have another jar full. All right, so let's lay it out according to the pattern here. Oh, let's not do that yet. Let's make our flying geese. All right, so I'm gonna pick this up. That's how it goes, right sides together. So one side on all four, and then press and come back and stitch the other side. But I need my guide on. So we're gonna quick go to the 1/4 inch foot. If you don't have a 1/4 inch foot for your machine, I highly recommend it. Not one that you just sew up on a line that's on there. To me, you always think you're good enough, but I like this guide. Or a bunch of tape piled up. All right, going back to normal length. So I hope you are stitching flying geese a little bit better now. The starch absolutely makes a huge difference in these shapes. I hope you notice that we don't have a lot of stringy pieces on our back of our blocks anymore. They're all pretty nice and clean if you starch enough. If you still have strings, maybe you need to starch a little bit heavier than what you are. Oh, there we go. I could have used my scissors, but sometimes this thing is just too slick not to use. Again, it's kind of awkward for me to do this pressing with this big chubby iron this close to me without standing up, but we're making do. All right, the other side on. Line that up really nice. So my goal in to do these quilt-alongs is just to get you to be a little bit more confident in your piecing and not be scared off if the block has a triangle or two in it. Okay. The ruler back out, trim that. Again, 1 5/8. I'll look to see if we tell you what size to trim them to or what size they should be at that point. Yep, 1 5/8 by 2 3/4. Now if you wanted to, you could take your ruler and you could put this and trim this up this way. You know, you do one side and then you come back here and you put it on 2 3/4 like that. And you could trim that way too. All right, but you see, I didn't take anything off but the dog ear anyways, so I just do this. But you can do it however you wish. All right, now I'll remember to save these guys. Put them over here by its friends. Okay, now let's build our block. Grab yourself these design boards if you haven't done this already. Okay, so I'm doing this, looks like, all the way around. And then I'm doing dark out to the outside, to the outside, to the outside, to the outside, and then a pinwheel in the middle. So one there, one there, one there, and one that way. Okay? So what do? We're going to do the pinwheel first in the middle. So these can go to that. You see that? Those will go this way. So let's do that center pinwheel first. And let's push, I don't know if I like that. Let's open them up. We're going to open them. Getting pretty good at pressing left-handed. There we go. Now I'll put those together. Line up that center. Make sure. Stick a pin in there. Pin out, quick little finger press, get it started. There we go. Okay, now we're going to go right down the rows, keep them in order. Now, could have this block been made with all half square triangles? Yep. But sometimes it's better to have less seams. So we made flying geese instead of all triangles. Because we just made all triangles in block 4. All right, make sure I got it going the right direction, of course. Check twice and sew once. Okay, so now we have this unit and these guys. So I think that goes that way easy and that goes in easy. Okay, so we're going to press in the middle or open if you want. You can always press open because that's a lot of bulk right there. So we're pressing open. We're pressing open. Is there any problem if these were to the side and not open? Nope. Can do it that way. That's the way we're going to do it. We're going to do those out. Now when you see me ironing, I'm not like pressing down. I'm just using the weight of the iron. So it's not stretching any more than usual. Sometimes I watch people iron and they're ironing using a lot of weight behind that. All right, so now we're just going to flip that way. We're going to line that one up. Check it by pulling it back a little bit, putting a pin right into that seam. This one too, slide it over. All right, so when you have these lined up like this, I just want to show you something on this one. So when you look at it, oh, this one's pretty good. I thought maybe like this would be a little baggier, and maybe it is. So we're going to put this side to the feed dogs, and that will suck that up and make it the same size. Could have done a better job there, but one of my little seams flipped, but you know what? It's okay. Nobody's going to see the back, except you. Okay. I'm not going to take that out just because it flipped. You can if you want, though. I say it's okay. All right, pins out. I really love those pins with those grippers on it. See how fast I can grab that and pull them out? Especially when your hands don't work like they used to. Come on. We just got a bunch of whole new irons in here called the Lorastar irons. So one of these days you'll see me using those as well. All right, so iron them flat. All right, so let's see what we got here. Ooh, looks good, doesn't it? All right, we need it to measure 5 at this point because it's a 4.5 inch finished block. So I'm just going to trim up these little strings, threads, whatever you want to call them. There's hardly any there at all. This one's really nice. I did a good job on this one. And I even sewed the Hesper triangles together right. I have not done that in a long time, so that's why I'm kind of making fun of it. All right, here we go. Another finished block for our Joyful Quilt-Along, block number 6. See us next week for block number 7.